It is week 6 of the Climate Tech Inc. NFL Prediction Show. Cole McDaniel with me once again, Vince McKee. The season is flying by, and we are all knotted up at 45 games. 45 to 35 is the records. You will see that here pop up on the screen a little bit later. It's going to be a fun one tonight. See if we can break the deadlock in our picks. But before we do so, a quick reminder that the show brought to you by our wonderful sponsor, Climate Tech Inc. Message on them: for 48 years, family owned and operated, Climate Tech has been the premier company for all HVAC services. For both residential and commercial, they have it covered. They offer free estimates on equipment replacement and 24-hour emergency service. Visit them at climate-tech.com. Vince, you ready to get this thing going?
Yeah, very excited. Can't wait. I was thinking about this a couple times today, doing the math in my head. We are technically 20% of the way there for the AFC and NFC championship games. Very cool that we're tied. I think this is, I know usually this time of the season, right around Halloween, you're usually up by 4 or 5 games. I know last year after 5 weeks, you were up by 6 games. So for us to be tied, this is a lot of fun. Hopefully, I don't have to make some huge comeback and win again like I've had to do the last 2 years. I like it being a little bit more competitive like this. This is what I like to see. So last week was bad, though. I got to say, not thrilled with my picks. The Hitman T-shirt did not pay off. All it did, I won my fantasy football game. That was great, but another rough week. North Olmsted lost, St. Ignatius lost, and the Cleveland Browns lost. The Denver Broncos, even though I picked against them and it worked out in my favor, one of the worst losses you're going to see in football and one of the worst football games you're going to see on primetime television. All that aside, let's do it again. I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely fun for us in a matter of us being knotted up and it being so close, so tight, and so competitive. This past week, I would say, at least for myself, aside from Ohio State, not necessarily the most enjoyable football weekend. This weekend may be a chance to turn the tides there because there is a great slate of games. And we'll start with college football as we always do. And this is a packed weekend. Ohio State has a bye weekend, but if you're a college football fan, you just love football in general, this is a wonderful weekend despite the
Oh,
Buckeyes
yeah.
not playing. We're going to start with the top 25. Really the biggest matchup of all of these, and there's multiple that we're going to talk about. But number 3 Alabama plays against number 6 Tennessee. This is at Tennessee. So, little Rocky Top, they get the win against the Crimson Tide? Vince, your thoughts?
Heart says yes. Mine says no. I love Tennessee. We've talked about this time and time again. Growing up as a kid, watching them, all that good stuff. Okay, T. Martin was the quarterback, not Peyton Manning. Blah 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 blah. We've covered all the stories. So going into this week, though, I think in a smidgen of a way, and I was watching this from a hotel room in Amish country, but Alabama just got by Texas A&M. I don't know if they were looking ahead or looking past them to Tennessee. Really strange. Nick Saban teams typically don't do that. Even though they won, I expect them to actually bounce back, and I think they're going to roll Tennessee in Mountaintop there, Rocky Mountaintop, I should say. So I'm going to go with Alabama. I don't normally do this, but I'm actually going to give you a score as well. I'm going to go 48-31. It'll be a bit of a shootout, but Alabama's going to pull away late.
Well, definitely a shootout if it gets into the 40s, that's for sure. I feel like I had plenty of scoring as well, but Alabama hasn't been putting up the same amount of points as they have in last year's. Bryce Young obviously didn't play this past week. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bryce Young back out there. Of course, if they don't have him for whatever reason, that gives Tennessee a huge, huge boost coming into this one. I would expect Bryce Young to play, though. Of course, we'll see how the week goes on and progresses, and as we continue to get official word there on that. But I'm going to say that Alabama still wins this one. It's hard to go against the Crimson Tide despite their close games, their close matchups, barely escaping Texas. Really had a tough battle this past week, and aside from a terrible play call at the end by Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M had a great chance to win. Honestly, Alabama just skating by, and it feels like that's Alabama's luck. They're going to keep getting the luck and chips falling their way this week. I have them winning 34-24. Still plenty of points up on the board, just a 10-point difference. I think you're going to just see their defense be able to shut down Tennessee, even though Tennessee might still feel that they're in the game later on. Defense for Alabama slams that door shut, led by Will Anderson. So a really good one there in the SEC.
Yeah, and excited for it. Like I said, when Tennessee is good, the rare chance that Nebraska's been good the last couple of decades. There's a few teams, Florida State. It spices things up. It makes it a lot of fun. Florida has not been what I would call quote unquote really good since Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer left. So, it's fun when they're good too. But yeah, excited.
In the Big Ten, this also two top 25 teams, and Michigan, number 5 in the country, plays host to number 10 Penn State, coming off of a bye week, had a rest, time to plan for Michigan and get prepared. And Michigan tested for 3 quarters against Indiana, which was really interesting. Vince, your thoughts on this one?
This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to probably be tracking this one. I'm guessing this is a day game. I did not see the time.
This is the big noon kickoff on Fox.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to be on my way to cover the Toledo versus Kent State game, which in its own way is pretty big this weekend. But definitely going to have that on the radio and be tracking it on my laptop when I get there. That aside, looking over everything earlier today, I can't decide on this. I think Michigan's the better team, but in a close game like this, I might bet on Michigan, but this is the time I'm going to go with my heart. I say that Penn State actually pulls the upset in the big house. Michigan has a way of losing games they should win. Can they do it again? Now, that being said, if Penn State comes in and Michigan blows them out, I think you're looking at probably, Ohio State and Michigan being really the 2 top teams in the nation coming into that final week, because I do expect either Alabama or Georgia to fall. One of them might fall. So this is going to be real juicy if Michigan could roll Penn State. But I don't know. I'm going to pull for our boy Drew Allard. Maybe he gets in the game.
Yeah, and this is at the big house, like I already talked about. Michigan, they have that advantage there. They played on big noon for multiple weeks in a row, so very comfortable with that time slot and comfortable with Fox being there again covering that game. And it's almost become a repetitive theme here this season for them so far. As for Penn State, a great opportunity because you've had an extra week to prepare for this game. You'd think that maybe things might lean Penn State's way because they've had that extra time. I think the problem here is that in a close game, and I expect it to be close, I just question 2 things. Penn State's defense is good, but can you stop the run game with Blake Corum? Blake Corum, very fantastic running back. He's honestly a top 5 guy in the country this year. He's got those pulling tackles and guards out in front of him that can clear space. And they did it against Ohio State last year. That's really one of the strengths of Michigan. I'm not that impressed with J.J. McCarthy, but say they're up at the end of the game, he can scramble and use his legs as well. The other thing, in a close game, in addition to needing to stop the run, can your quarterback on the other end get the job done? I don't trust Sean Clifford. Yes, he's experienced. He's been around for a long time, but he's limited on what he can do ability-wise. Obviously, if it's the other quarterback who you talked about in the game, I have a little bit more faith despite him being a freshman, but I don't think Sean Clifford quite has the ability to get it done. Because of that, I'm going with the Wolverines, 27-20, still close. Maybe even Penn State has an opportunity on the last drive. I just don't think they get it done. And I think the Happy Valley fans, they're out there, the Nittany Lions fans, they're hoping that they are going to see the final year of Sean Clifford, as he has been there for forever, and they've been complaining about it all year. So they're ready for his time to go, and this will be really the last season of him. So, but I think the Wolverines get this one.
Fingers crossed on that one. We'll see. little hometown bias, not gonna lie.
We shall see there. Now for the other game, this one also really a top 25 matchup, but it's too good to not talk about. It is number 8 Oklahoma State at number 13 TCU. We talked about the Horned Frogs last week, Vince. As they were playing against Kansas, they ended up getting the win. Oklahoma State was tested in their matchup, barely snuck by for a win in their game. I believe that was against Texas Tech. Vince, what are your thoughts on these 2 teams facing off in the Big 12?
Can't pick against the Horned Frogs 2 weeks in a row. Pitt Kansas last week, immediately came back to bite me in the behind. That being said, we're going to go with TCU, going with the Horned Frogs all the way.
You know, I picked against TCU last week, and I'm going to do it again this week. I'm going with Oklahoma State, 35-32, a 3-point game. I think it's going to come right down to the wire with these 2. I just think Oklahoma State defensively in a not very defensive conference. I think that maybe they make the stand towards the end. They're probably one of the better teams, if not the best team in the Big 12 defensively. They've been that way for quite a while. So I think they do get it done in, like I said, a close one. So going to be a fun week of college football, as you see. All three games we talked about, ranked teams, that's 6 ranked teams we just discussed. It is going to be a fun one despite the Buckeyes bye week.
4 of them haven't lost a game.
Right?
Wait. Oh, what was Oklahoma State's record again? Are they undefeated too? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, and I think Oklahoma State
So
does not have a loss.
five of those teams.
Yeah.
5 of those teams unbeaten. Awesome. Yeah, can't wait. Like I said, I will be back at the hotel after the game and watching highlights, and it should be pretty cool.
Yeah, Oklahoma State does not have a loss either. So
I think so.
Yeah, you were correct. Really a slew of teams there that don't have losses at all. I mean, every single one of them undefeated. So unreal. Everybody's going to put their records on the line here this week. So it will be a fun one to tune in Saturday if you have the ability to, or listen in as you're going to be doing yourself, Vince. Now, as we turn to the NFL, switching to the NFL, we're going to talk about our marquee matchup here, Vince. And we talked about our records, 45 and 35 apiece, all knotted up. Of course, you're going to see Vince's score still in green, mine up in red because, hey, he was up on me last week. I'm simply not going to change the colors this week despite updating the scores. Maybe it can switch back to where it's green on my side come next week. We will wait and see. But we're going to start with the marquee matchup, and this is the one everybody's going to be tuned in for. It's been an offensive battle. It's come down to the wire. Actually changed the NFL postseason rules because of this past postseason. The Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to start this one off and keep it simple. The Bills get revenge in a very offensive game. I expect Mahomes and Josh Allen to duel it out once again. Josh Allen very nearly won that game with the Bills in the postseason this past year. They lost the coin toss. Chiefs go down the field. They end up getting the touchdown. They end the game. It's a shame that that's how it ends, and it's a relief that at least changed the postseason rules come the next postseason with the overtime. So we'll see how this one stacks up. But even at Arrowhead, the biggest thing here is that I think Josh Allen and those Bills, I know they want revenge. They want to get this one back. Chiefs defense is okay, but I still don't love it. I think the Bills do just enough to get this one done in a high-scoring game. I have it as 42-38, difference of 4 points between these teams, but coming down to the end, just as I talked about in some of those college football games, close ones coming down to the end, I think this one does the same thing.
It's amazing to me when I think about that playoff game last year is the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals went to the Super Bowl. I always look back at that game, and I guarantee you, if you were to poll 10 fans, 9 of them are going to be like, oh, yeah, it was the AFC Championship game. I think so many people forget, like, hey, there was another week of conference play after that. Cincinnati stuck one past, had a big comeback against the Chiefs. I almost think the Chiefs maybe ran out of gas because of how emotional that game was. I love that you brought that up. That was one of my all-time favorite football games. I've been a football fan for 35 plus years. One of my all-time favorites. That being said, it's funny because last week, me and you both picked Kansas City, and we saw a couple nights ago on Monday Night Football them come all the way back to beat the Raiders. They were down big, made that comeback, and looked great doing it, right? Travis Kelce, 4 touchdown passes. Mahomes looks the best that he's ever looked, which is amazing to think considering the talent that left the wide receiving corps. That being said, though, I'm going to go with Buffalo. I'm going to play the hot hand on this. The revenge factor, maybe a little bit. I don't get really too deep into that type of thing, but Buffalo, to me, has the better defense. I was looking at this today, and Kansas City has the better all-around offense with the combination of running and passing, which is obviously the only 2 things you can do. But Kansas City, to me, their defense just can't stop anybody. And last night there was a few bogus penalties the other night during that Monday Night Football game, and that to me speaks volumes of Kansas City's ability to stop the big play without any help from the refs or turnover, something crazy happening. That being said, I think this is it's a milestone moment here for Buffalo. They need to win this game. Now, if they lose, does it really mean anything? No. But at the end of the day, a win would mean something. Kind of getting over that hurdle, right? Give you a little bit of an advantage, gives you a tiebreaker if it comes down to it in the playoffs, seeding wise, I should say. I think that's how, AFC records is how they seed that. So yeah, just going off my little notepad here, gonna go with the Buffalo Bills on this one.
Now, in interdivision matchup on Sunday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles, the only undefeated team in the NFL, and the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, their defense continuing to shine. They got another win against the Rams, who could not protect Matt Stafford. Cooper Rush hasn't been amazing, but he's been good enough, and I think they're going to keep him out there until Dak Prescott can fully grip a football and is fully recovered from his surgery. Vince, how do you see this one going on Sunday night?
It's funny because Cooper Rush could stand to be a multimillionaire when the season's over. If he leads them to the playoffs, even if they don't win a playoff game, we've seen the story in the NFL so many times before. Backup comes in, has success, never does anything ever again. A la Nick Foles, on and on down the list. It's a story as old as time. If you don't believe me, go Google the name Scott Mitchell. So that reminds me of what Cooper Rush could do for the Cowboys. He give him the short-term fix. I do not think he's the guy long-term. I think they need to get Dak back sooner or later. I'm one of the few people that actually thinks Dak could be a premier quarterback in this league. He just needs to show it. That aside, Philadelphia's red hot. I love to play the streaks. Gonna pick them one more time to win this week. Picked against them last week, and I paid for it. That I believe that was the game that tied us up for the week, and then you won Sunday night to put you ahead to tie us up for the season. So yeah, I picked against Philadelphia, and quite frankly, they were a field goal away from having to go into overtime against the Cardinals. But it is what it is. It missed. Eagles won. I think they stay out. I think they stay hot here. But the Sunday night football game, it should be very good yet again. Very excited for it. And Cole, before you make your pick, I just want to throw this out there. How crazy is it, right, that you watch Arizona miss that field goal to lose, which helped you. The Browns missed the field goal, which it helped us both because we picked the Chargers, but still, as Browns fans, it's frustrating, right?
Right.
But you knew the other night watching that game with Cincinnati and Baltimore, I knew I was screwed, quite frankly, because I had picked Cincinnati, and the second Tucker lined up to kick that, I'm like, well, Cole won. Because you just knew. And, like, can the Browns ever have that? Can Cade York be that guy? It's just so frustrating when I watched that on Sunday night, and I was like, man, like, it's a no-brainer with Justin Tucker. No-brainer.
Yeah, I think, let me put it this way. Justin Tucker is such a phenomenal kicker. It is just, he's so laser focused, and like nothing messes with him or rattles him at all. Here's the thing for Cade York, for example. Obviously, he is a rookie. So this is a whole new experience for him. He had gone and kicked in the stadium before, but as we hit some of those, colder months and it's starting to change, he hasn't experienced it yet. So he doesn't have that under his belt. We know he has the leg. We know he's probably reading the wind a little bit better down in the stadium. Again, that lake effect wind that comes through. So he's getting better at it, I would assume, and getting more familiar. I think all the ability's there. But at the same time, he's been put in these high-pressure situations with these high-pressure kicks that they haven't needed to have high-pressure kicks.
Oh,
if at times
if
the play calling has been better,
exactly,
and they would score some more points, and if the defense would actually be able to stop the run game, they wouldn't need to put all this weight on his shoulders. For a rookie to come in, and he's got all the ability in the world as a kicker, trust me, he does. It's not time to start getting angry with Cade York and trying to send him out. No, give this kid time. He has a leg. He could be like Justin Tucker in the future. You just have to be patient with him. It's crazy because, like, I think he feels that weight on his shoulders, I would assume, knowing that, hey, if we can keep winning and then Deshaun Watson gets back, we got a huge shot this season. And he hit that kick at the beginning of the year, but he did kind of falter a little bit. Be patient with him. Now we jump back to this game, though, as we were talking about those other games. Back to Sunday Night Football. The Dallas defense. Everybody's talking about how good the Dallas defense is, and it is very good. The Eagles also have a very talented defense. They have a great secondary. They still have some good pass rushers. I think they're a pretty complete defense this year. And then offensively, they're running the ball better with Miles Sanders than they did last year. Jalen Hurts looks pretty good. He's still mobile, just like he was, maybe slightly improving as a passer because he also has another weapon in A.J. Brown added to the mix as well. Because of that, I'm going to say that offensively, the Eagles are just too much for Dallas to deal with. Even if the defense wins out most of the game, I don't know how much the Cowboys can actually do offensively against the Eagles defense just with Cooper Rush out there on the field. Like I said, Cooper Rush is good, but I don't think he's good enough to take over the game. I'm going with the Eagles. I'm on the same page here with you in this one.
2 for 2 here.
Now we turn to the upset picks. I'm going to start this one off. A week where I actually don't think there are too many upsets. I looked down the board, and even the Bears Commanders game was dead even when we were looking at it. Obviously lines move constantly, and they change from day to day. But that's one where Vegas even has it at even there. So the one that I think could be an upset, and I'm going this direction because this team is so bad. They should not have won this past week. Offensively, looked atrocious. The Jaguars are underdogs against the Indianapolis Colts. The Jaguars lost to the Houston Texans, but I think they have the ability, the potential to be able to bounce back. Their defense is much improved from last year. Coaching with Peterson's much improved. Yes, Lawrence had maybe an off week this past week, didn't do much of anything. I think Lawrence is still a good quarterback. Get him back on track there. Get the ball to his receivers. Take advantage of James Robinson, ETN in the backfield. I think they get back on the right track, and they just put enough points up on the board to beat the Colts, because the Colts certainly are not going to put up a ton of points on the board, especially even if Jonathan Taylor comes back. He's still a little bit slow to get going. That offense doesn't help him out. So give me the Jags.
So I'm not going to tell everybody my picks like I usually do. I'm going to point out a few games that I've considered, but I want you guys to click on the article and see who we both picked. But I'm going to give you a couple of games that I considered picking the underdog. Did I? You'll find out when you click on that article. One was the one Cole just talked about, Jacksonville and Indianapolis. NFL is such a weird league. This year, more than ever, we could see a team like Jacksonville lose to the lowly Houston Texans, then bounce back and beat a team that a lot of us, including Cole and myself, had once picked to win the AFC South. All that being said, wouldn't be shocked at that one. Did I pick it? You'll find out. Baltimore at the Giants, same type of deal there. The Giants, a lot of people don't realize this, 4-1. That's crazy to think they're 4-1. Can they do it again? We'll see. Did I have enough guts to pick them? Click on that article. That being said, this was a tough one here because Arizona travels to Seattle. Arizona is the favorite in that game, but they're going on the road. Seattle could take it. I don't know. But the one I did go with for sure that I have to reveal on the air because that's the rules was the one you already talked about. And I'm not real sure because when I looked at it, the Commanders were the underdog. So if something changed, I apologize. But when I looked at Yahoo, they had listed the Washington Commanders as the underdog going to Chicago. Now, I'm going with Washington as my official pick, my official upset pick. But 0-2 on the road. Chicago's 2-0 at home. Something's got to give. I mean, is Washington that bad that they're going to start the year 0-3 on the road? Is Chicago that good that they're going to start the season 3-0 at home? I don't think so either way. And I also think that Carson Wentz hopefully has a bit of a fire lit underneath him right now from head coach Ron Rivera, pseudo kind of calling him out over the other day there in that press conference, calling Wentz out. Can he respond? I think this is it, though. I think if Carson Wentz and the Commanders lose this game against the Bears, they're in for a very long season. Time will tell. That is my official upset pick. If that line has moved, Cole, I apologize, but when I did look at it today, Washington was listed as a 2.5-point underdog. I don't know if something's changed.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Like I said, I'm seeing even right now between those two teams. And of course, in the NFL, really all sports in general, they usually give at least a point. Oftentimes you hear about 3 points for the home team. So technically the Bears would probably be the underdog in this one if it's even, because usually give the home team a couple points there. So, Yeah, but again, you're going with Washington, and I actually took the Chicago Bears. I honestly would have thought coming into this game, coming into this week, I would have gone with the Commanders. The reason I'm going with the Chicago Bears is honestly, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect, some issues there in Washington. They might have a better collaboration of pieces on offense compared to what Chicago has on offense. I trust the Bears defense, but Ron Rivera's comments about Carson Wentz, I don't know how that's going to sit. Is it going to motivate Wentz? Is it going to cause turmoil in that locker room between the head coach, the quarterback, and really players as well? I don't necessarily know. So I almost think there's too much going on, and maybe in a very defensive, sloppy game like we've been seeing on Thursday nights, the Bears come away with it and do just enough to get this win. So I had Chicago there in that one. And like I said, we'll see how the lines continue to move throughout the week. They could easily move all the way up until right before the game on Thursday night even. But again, you took Washington, and that's where we're split there because I have Chicago.
Well, if it helps, I do have another underdog pick. I can make my official pick because I
we'll,
mean,
we'll
because
stick
we're
with this. We'll stick with this.
because I do. I mean, I'll just throw it out. It's all good. It's the same one you have. It's Jacksonville. So I don't know. Whatever. Fans, take it to the bank if you want, but there you go. Because I don't know if Taylor's coming back or not, and somebody texted me that he thinks the Colts might be taken. So we'll see if they lose to Jacksonville, there might be a little bit something to that.
Yeah, I wonder who thinks the Colts might be tanking.
Some crazy.
We'll see. We'll start the conspiracy theories here a little bit later, but I definitely have a good one because, of course, that is me who thinks that the Colts might end up tanking
Well,
as the season goes on.
you pretty much covered it, but I will give my reasons real quick if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
More so than a joking aspect, and I guess I'm double dipping here talking about two upsets, but to me, it's more so when something's going south, it's going to have a breaking point, right? Where the fans start booing and just all holy hell breaks loose. And I have a weird feeling that's what happens to the Colts this week because when they looked at their schedule, they circled this as there's no way we lose this game at home to Jacksonville. Can't possibly happen. At this point, they probably had themselves at 4-1, and they're just on the brink of disaster right now. So this could be the game that does it. Like I said, I know for a fact Jacksonville's the underdog listed, the Washington Chicago thing. I don't know. Sorry about that, but I'm going with the Commanders regardless, I guess.
Yeah, I really do believe that if the Colts lose this one and things continue to go south, here's the thing. They know they have some good pieces on defense. If they can convince that locker room, convince those defensive players, hey, we're looking to next year. We got a really good group. Let's try to keep this core together because you guys are talented. You can do a lot of things. And then offensively, I like Alec Pierce as a possession receiver. You like Michael Pittman Jr. as a possession receiver.
Yep.
You like Jonathan Taylor, and honestly, Naheem Hines is a nice third down back to have as that backup. I think there's a lot of great pieces there. Now, the reshuffling of the offensive line, you might want to make some changes there on the offensive line. But if you tank this season and you land yourself CJ Stroud and you rebuild that O line, I mean, the Colts could be really, really set if they can keep the rest of that core, the rest of that team together and add that. We'll see. Jim Irsay, we talked about, he's a little crazy.
Yes.
And we'll see what happens. But I could see them being the surprise team to tank this year because there's usually a surprise team that ends up with a top 5 pick.
It's just stupid. It irritates me because I go back to last year and both them and the Chargers I had going far. Neither one of them made the playoffs. So we will see. But yeah, officially, I think me and Cole agree on that as well. So Washington and Chicago different, but we both have Jacksonville.
Now, turning to the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns had another great opportunity to win this one against the Chargers this past week. They were up 14-0 early in the game. Things looked pretty good. They couldn't stop the run. Of course, Austin Eckler had a monster day, and Josh Kelly looked pretty good. They were getting the ball moving. They had been the worst run team coming in to the game this season. They turned that around against the Cleveland Browns, and now you see the Browns making some moves. Obviously, Jacob Phillips has some ability there, but they're trying to bring in a more experienced veteran middle linebacker in Deion Jones. I think that's a good addition. change up front at defensive tackle as well. So starting to make those changes. And now that the Panthers could possibly be looking to send guys away because they're about to probably start a rebuild now that Matt Rule is gone. They might just completely tear it down and start over. If I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm putting calls in for Derek Brown at defensive tackle right now. Again, he's a physical defensive tackle that could really help them out. Now, will those changes on defense that they made so far, the slight adjustments, will the play that they have, because we still see the ability to get things done, be enough against the Patriots team that's starting to hurt right now? Yes, they beat the Detroit Lions. They won that one. I'm surprised that they did so, and that was one that you got correct. Bailey Zappi performed well enough for the team, a guy who was very successful in college, but the Patriots coming to Cleveland, can they get it done? That's the big question. What do you think, Vince?
No, I'm taking the Browns in this game. I think they're going to have to keep pace, and just to kind of reveal a few more of my picks, I actually have Cincinnati and Baltimore both winning this week. So the Browns definitely need to come in and defend home. They need to win, defeat the old coach, all those cliched storylines. What they need to do is call better plays down the stretch, too. Right now, speaking of cliches, I'll give you one. They're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Jacoby Brissett played to win almost that entire second to last drive when they went all the way down the field. He was playing great, rolling out of the pocket, doing everything he had to do. And then he panicked. Made a terrible pass when all he had to do was either run out of bounds, slide, throw it away. A million other options there, right? All of a sudden it clicked in his brain. Oh my God, I'm Jacoby Brissett. I don't want to lose. Mistake. And we've seen that 3 separate times. Now, I do not think they're setting him up to succeed, quite frankly. Number 2, I feel like a broken drum, okay? Because this is now the 3rd time after our loss I've banged the drum for David Bell.
Yep.
Here we go again. Last second drive. He's going to be open underneath, especially that one where Brissett threw the interception, put him in the game.
Yep.
You could add nice 10 chunk yard plays. Down the stretch, that final drive, selling for a 54-yard field goal in Cleveland where it's very hard to kick plus 50 yards. Unacceptable. You know, Brandon Staley tries to hand you that game. I don't know what the hell was going through that guy's brain going for it like he did. I mean, the Browns were given every chance and absolutely blew it. Right now, they have one of the best players in football on defense in Myles Garrett. Yes, he's a little bit banged up, but they have to double team him every single week. You have Nick Chubb. You have all these things. There's no reason you should be losing. The magic number for the Browns is Deshaun Watson showed up to Berea today is 6. Get to 6 wins by week 11. You're going to give yourself a chance. All that being said, New England, I don't know what's going on with them. First string quarterback's hurt. Brian Hoyer's hurt. Obviously, we're down to the 3rd string. He looked pretty good, but you're going to get that 2 weeks in a row from the guy? I don't think so. The Browns are head and shoulders more talented than the New England Patriots. They're going to be outcoached. You can't outcoach the GOAT. But that being said, talent should win out. I see the Browns getting to 3-3. We'll take it from there. But really, 3-3 at this stage of the season is not nearly as bad as everybody thinks. Could be a lot better. Sure as hell could be a lot worse.
Yeah, you know, this past week, the loss to the Chargers was one where I wasn't even that angry, that mad. I was just disappointed because I came into that game expecting the Chargers to win. You and I both picked the Los Angeles Chargers, but it happened to be so close, and they honestly had the greatest opportunity to win that. The Chargers gifted them an opportunity, and they didn't take advantage. So it was just disappointing that they had it in their fingertips. They were given that opportunity. They weren't able to get it done. It wasn't one of those where, okay, this is absolutely a win. This is locked down. We dominated. And then you lost it. Jets and the Falcons. This one was actually with the Chargers more of a battle back and forth. The Chargers would respond when the Browns did something. I felt like it was a much more even game than those other ones previously that they had lost. So just disappointed they didn't get it done. Bouncing back here against the Patriots, I do think they get it done. You're right. The talent is there. They're head and shoulders better than the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick, he could really coach up the perfect game plan. And I think the Browns have enough to get the job done. You run the ball. You keep that ball moving. Yes, you need to get David Bell involved more. Football is a game when you're passing the ball of 10 yards at a time. Yes, I know going for those big plays is great, but David Bell's a guy who can sit down right in the zone, underneath, slants, crossing routes, short routes, and just pick up chunk plays. He's a guy you need to get involved. I think he's going to be a huge factor when Deshaun Watson comes back because he's going to be spraying the ball all around the field, I think, sharing it. Brissett maybe locks in on guys a little bit too much, so maybe that's why they're not utilizing him as much. I'd like to see him get utilized more. But I do think they bounce back here against the Patriots, do enough to get the win. Still going to be close, maybe even be a nail biter, but I think they get this one done.
I agree. I think we've spoken so much about the Browns. We could go on for hours, but gonna go ahead and have some fun. I'll make my closing thoughts kind of a barrage of things if that's cool with you.
Sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna hit you at every level. So we already talked about college. I'm gonna give you a few in the high school ranks as well.
Okay.
I think St. Ed's goes down to Cincy, knocks off Moeller, gets a revenge from their only loss last year in their 15-1 brilliant season. I think Olmsted Falls knocks off Avon Lake on the road, and Olmsted Falls has not won at Avon Lake in many years. We've seen it go the other way. It seems like the home team continues to win that back and forth. But I think this is the year Olmsted Falls gets done. Don't normally pick high school, but I'm giving you two right there. Very excited for it. Wanted to throw this out there super quick, not to kind of depress everybody as we end the show, but I was thinking about this long and hard. Washington at Chicago, really, really dissected that game down to a T. And it went through my mind, Cole, how cool would it have been if Haskins would have worked out in Washington a couple years ago? Was still had it would have played out. How cool would it have been? Haskins versus Fields. I mean, that would have just been.
Right.
I would have loved it, right? But God rest his soul, it didn't happen. But that was just one because you don't hear about too many Ohio State quarterbacks in the pros. You just don't. Period. So that would have been pretty sweet. But that aside, I agree with you, man. Going to wish you good luck. Have a good call again this weekend. Very excited. We have never had Hudson on the Key on Sports Game of the Week, so you have a first on your hands. Obviously, I know you know Brunswick very well, so I will let you take us home and thank you again to Climate Tech. Another fun week. Cole, me and you are tied after 5 weeks. Unfamiliar territory for me to be this close. I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll see. It will be a fun week, and again, thank you, Vince. For the shout out there. Again, it's going to be a fun one on Friday night. So make sure to tune in on the Key on Sports YouTube channel. We'll go live about 5 minutes prior to kickoff at about 6:55. Yeah, and you mentioned it as well about Ohio State quarterbacks. Would have been cool. Obviously, rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. Had a lot of talent, a lot of ability, just the immaturity aspect, and was never really able to get a foothold in the league. And unfortunately, things didn't end up working out there. You are going to see a lot more Ohio State quarterbacks continue to come into the league, though. Ryan Day, a quarterback guru, and that offense really helps develop them. They're bringing in a lot of quarterback talent here now. Climate Tech, our sponsor for 48 years, family owned and operated. Climate Tech has been the premier company for all HVAC services for both residential and commercial. They have it covered. They offer free estimates on equipment replacement and 24-hour emergency service. Visit them at climate-tech.com. For myself, Cole McDaniel, and Vince McKee, everybody enjoy your evening. Also have a great weekend. Enjoy the football.